Do not become everybody's dumping ground. Saying yes every time is not good for your career. You're actually destroying your own reputation. Because if you become that person, they will not think of you when there are better opportunities to be handed out. Hi, my name is Tanu Ganguly. I had a media career of over 18 years that I am incredibly proud of. I then switched to entrepreneurship. I launched a startup called Mishri. Unfortunately, I could not scale that up, and that remains one of the biggest failures of my working life. Through those highs and lows, I have learned a lot about how to navigate your working life in India. As a woman, as a professional, as someone who's ambitious, as a working mother. So this channel also is about those conversations. Hit subscribe so we can build this space better. It's 6 p.m. on a Friday evening, and as you are leaving for the weekend, your boss dumps on you a whole lot of work that needs to be given by Monday. Now you want to say no, but you can't. You're terrified. You just don't have the words. In today's video, we're going to talk about firstly why actually saying yes every time is not good for your career. You're actually destroying your own reputation. Second, we're going to break that down, and I'm going to share with you a very specific 4-step framework that's going to help you tackle such unreasonable asks. And third, we're going to see how to apply this framework to different kinds of people, different kinds of bosses. So let me guess what happens to you. You're a very reliable person, so people are constantly asking you to help. And because you have this image and you're a kind person, you always feel compelled to help people when they ask you to. Now this eventually becomes your everyday work. I remember that in NDTV we used to have a colleague like this who was always willing to help everybody out, and that's really sweet. However, down the line, what it did was she became everyone's dumping ground. Instead of getting all the accolades for, helping people, she became invisible. She became overwhelmed and didn't realize anymore just how to say no. And by the time she learned how to say no, nobody expected her to. And so when she would say that, it made her look like a difficult person. And that's even more so when the worker in question is a woman. And so if you are a woman, if you are navigating your workspace, do not become everybody's dumping ground. And that does not mean that you don't be responsible to your duties, that you do not deliver work on time, or you do not give quality output, that you don't contribute, that you don't be a team player. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to learn when to say no, especially when the ask is unreasonable. Because if you become that person, your supervisor will think that you're someone who just handles the overflow of work well. They will not think of you when there are better opportunities to be handed out. We're going to talk about a 4-step framework that will allow you to handle a lot of these uncomfortable asks easily and professionally without it affecting your career or your work relationships. Step number 1 is acknowledging and appreciating that your boss has asked you to do something. How do you do that? You use words like, hey, thanks, I appreciate that you've asked me to do this. It shows that you trust my work. Or you say something like, this is a really important client, so I'm glad you're asking me to handle this presentation. Step number 2, you state your current position. You say, but currently I am working on this presentation or this annual report or this particular script or campaign that is due on Monday. So stating what you are working on helps your supervisor recall the other stuff that they may have given you. Because very often it's not that your supervisor wants to get at you. They don't want to be mean necessarily. They are overwhelmed themselves very often and really don't have a track of exactly how every minute of your working day is spent. So you want to clarify it back to them, and that is what this step helps to do. Clarify what you're working on currently, what's at the top of your priority today. Step number 3, present a trade-off. Tell them, explain to them how you're picking up this new task that they're asking for will shift your priority about something else that you're doing. What will that impact be? You can say something like, I can pick it up today, however, the report that is due on Monday will now have to be shifted to a Wednesday or a Thursday. So how would you like me to prioritize my work? Say it clearly and present that trade-off to the person who's asking you to do this. Quick recap. Step number 1, you've been asked to do something which you are now acknowledging. Step number 2, you are presenting your current position. You are refreshing the other person's memory about what it is that you're currently working on. Step number 3, you are giving them a trade-off. You're showing them how doing this impacts something else. Number 4 and the last step, give them an alternative. So you could say something like, I can pick it up today. Alternatively, I can ask Priya to handle this for me because she already knows the client really well, and that way we're able to finish both tasks given the urgency that we have. Now, when you do this, you're also telling your supervisor that you have a thinking mind. You're aligned to doing all of this, and yet you are not saying no. So here's how this whole conversation will look like. Your supervisor says, hey, I need this done urgently. It's Friday evening, I know, but I need this by Monday, 11 a.m. latest. Here's what your response will look like. Step number 1, hey, thanks for bringing me into this. I know this is a super important client for us or a super important campaign for us. It shows that you trust me. Step number 2, but at the moment, I'm working on the other campaign that you asked me to do yesterday, which is also due on Monday. Step number 3, if you want me to pick this up, I'm happy to do that, but the other report then gets pushed to Wednesday or a Thursday. Which one would you like me to prioritize first? The 4th, your alternative. Alternatively, I can ask Priya to jump into this because she already knows the client very well. I can give her a very detailed brief and we can ensure that both of these tasks are completed by Monday morning. Now that we've discussed the 4-step framework, let's quickly also address what happens for different kinds of bosses. Now, if your boss is a micromanager, then you want to bring his attention to the fact that if you're going to do all of these things simultaneously, your attention to detail will suffer. And say that with my current workload, I can either give it in by Monday or I can do a really good job with all the details and give it by Wednesday. What do you prefer me to do? If your boss is the overwhelmed type, he or she already has a lot on their table, then you have to say that I know you're juggling a lot and I understand that this needs to be finished really quickly. Let me come back to you with an alternative on how we can achieve that. And then there's the person who's constantly guilt tripping you. You just have to tell them, look, this is what all is on my table. I understand this needs to be done well. Realistically, I can only give this to you by Wednesday, not Monday. But make sure that you convey that clearly up front before you take on that work. The key here is practice. Try and practice this with smaller tasks. You don't want to try this whole thing for something that's really critical for you or for your team or for your company. Start trying it for smaller asks and then gradually build it up. You will realize that it will actually improve your conversations, your trust and your relationship with your colleagues because you're going to be clear and upfront. They will start valuing your inputs and your time more, and overall it just breeds a better sense of team spirit. That's it in today's video, but before you go, I want to know from you which kind of bizarre requests have you ever received from your supervisor. Put it in the comments. Let's create a hall of ridiculous asks that you haven't been able to say no to at work. Until next time, here's a request for you to subscribe to our channel that we are building to have these conversations from the lens of a woman for working women out there and men who care about the women in their lives. Hit subscribe, like and share and help us build this space better.